Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of ChristianVeganism.com. I know this is a little blunt, but I have to speak bluntly and honestly and openly because I want people to not be confused. Because there's too much deception in the animal agriculture industry and the dairy industry where people are told all these things and humane meats and all this nonsense when it's the most cruel and inhumane behavior that could ever be imagined. And I don't think most people want to go down that route, but they just don't know. This is why it's important for you as a vegan to speak out. This doesn't mean you have to post gory, gruesome pictures all the time. Sometimes that can help. Sometimes that will bring people to the truth. But I've posted things where it's just a picture of sweet calves. There's no blood, there's no guts, nobody's being hit or harmed, in the picture at least, and had people say, well, this is sensationalism, this is awful. And it's just calves. They're not being harmed or hurt or anything, but because the statement was made that these calves are killed because people are buying dairy, they're buying milk. And it's 100% true. I'll put a link in the description to an article about this from a non-vegan source talking about how in many areas it's cheaper for them just to kill male calves rather than raise them. And this is in the dairy industry. So yes, when you're buying milk, you're killing male calves. Even if you call yourself a vegetarian and say, well, I don't eat any meat, I don't want any animals to die, you're having animals die because of your dairy obsession, your dairy addiction. And so what happens is, because many people don't know about dairy, let me explain this to you. And I'm going to try to be sensitive about the description because I don't want this to be too graphic because it's really awful. But most people don't know this. I mentioned in my book, Why Every Christian Should Be a Vegan, that I've had people tell me that cows want us to take his milk. So these people don't even understand the difference between a male and female animal, and that the female is the one, as a mammal, that produces milk. And so these people obviously don't know what's going on. But in the dairy industry, what happens is, it's not some cow walking around in a field and just happily walking up to the dairy farmer, and he gets on a little stool and milks her gently, and she walks off into the field, everything's happy, and there's butterflies and birds chirping, and it's sweet and happy. What happens is, she's put in what's called, and this is the truth, and I hate to even use these words, but this is what they call it, a rape rack. So she's held against her will. The farmer then rapes her with an instrument to get her impregnated. Doesn't happen the old-fashioned way, the way nature intended. This is so she can be pregnant, because she has to be pregnant and then give birth to a baby to produce milk. She doesn't produce milk naturally walking around when she's not pregnant. Doesn't happen. Then when she gives birth, depending on the farm, normally the calf is taken away within 24 hours, sometimes instantly, and then she's milked promptly. And she's milked for 9 months to a year, however long they can keep it going. And then she's impregnated again, so she can keep producing milk. And this keeps going on, this horror show, until she can't produce enough milk. And then she's sent to the slaughter and eaten by people. Now, in the meantime, her calves that are being taken away, if they're female, they will go through the same cycle their mother's going through, of being raped and milked and caged and treated brutally. The male calves, they will be taken away and either be chained in a little pen and eventually be slaughtered and become veal, or what happens a lot of times, and like I said, I'll put a link in the description, they will be slaughtered because they're too expensive to keep. So they just slaughter them because they don't need a male on a dairy farm. They're producing dairy, so it costs a lot to raise that male. They just kill it. This is the same thing that happens in the egg industry. The male chicks are literally ground up, or they're thrown in a bag and thrown away alive, thrown away like trash. They're drowned. They'll throw them in a big container and just pour water in and drown them. It's brutal. They're thrown in a chipper, a wood chipper basically. These are the things you're paying for. And in dairy and eggs, people think, well, I'm not killing an animal, I'm not eating their flesh. They really, really, truly believe that they're being compassionate. Lots of vegetarians think they're being compassionate, and yet they're eating eggs and dairy. And so they're not being compassionate at all. They're causing great, great harm and suffering. So my friend, I want to encourage you, if you're a vegan, please get my book, Why Every Christian Should Be a Vegan, because this is very important. I go through all kinds of issues from the scripture and from life about these various topics, and it'll really help you, put you in a firm position to explain your veganism to other professing Christians. But if you're not a vegan, you're a Christian, I encourage you to get the book as well, because it's a book I wish I would have had before I was a vegan, because I didn't know any of this stuff. And I was a Christian, and I thought I loved animals, but how could I truly love animals when I'm eating them? It's just not possible. That's like the slave owner talking about themselves being a good person, patting themselves on the back because they treat their slaves well, never realizing they should never own another human being. And it's evil to own another human being. Doesn't matter how well you treat them. So once again, I want to encourage you, get the book. I'll put a link in the description to it, Why Every Christian Should Be a Vegan by Ryan Hicks. It'll be an absolute blessing for you. And if you've already read it, or maybe you even haven't, but you know other Christians who are not vegans, or you know vegans who are not Christians, get this book for them, because this will truly be a blessing for them, and it will help cause less harm on this planet. Have more animals live good, happy lives, not to be abused and exploited. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.